careful.
Take the water.
This water song was given by an old lady, an elder, a grandmother, a kokum from Ontario. Her name was Josephine Mandamin, and she shared a water song for all women to take care of the water. And so I'm going to start from the east, and I'll go south, and I'll go west and north. So a lot of times we all stand and face those directions, but today I will be the only one to face those directions, those doorways. There's a lot of teachings about the water, because water comes in many forms, Lake, ocean water, spring water, river water, muskeg water. Our tears are water. Our bodies are maybe, 85–90% water. That's how very important water is. And we have to take care of the water, especially the women. The women should be taking care of the water and praying for the water and praying for the next few generations of our grandchildren. We all came from our mother's womb. Our mother carried us, most of us 9 months, some of them 8 months, even 4 or 5 months, We were all born in that water, stayed in that water, and until it was time for us to come to Mother Earth, to touch Mother Earth, to touch the sky. Water comes first, and then you are born following that water. And we have to respect water, because water can take life. So we always have to be thankful whenever we cross the lake. I used to be scared. I used to think, are we going to make it across or not, especially in a storm? So I learned quickly to respect water. As I learned it, I used to go sit by the rock down the bank at my place, at my mom's place. And I go sit there and I talk to the water spirit. I would take along jelly beans and tobacco and maybe even some wild flowers. Whatever you want to offer to thanking that water, because water is scarce now. When I was 18, 19 years old, an old man back home told me about the future, told me, someday you're going to have to buy water. And at that time, our rivers were clear, clean, and we could drink from the water from down the bank. And now, with all the pollution, it's hard to find healthy water. When we talk about water, I heard elders say there's male water and female water because we are all male and female. Everything is male and female. And they were describing that the water on Mother Earth, that's the female water. In the springtime, when it starts to rain, in the springtime, the male water is falling. And before summer, things are starting to grow because the male and the female had met. And so everything starts to grow. Always pray to that water and thanking it, because when you're doing that, you are taking care of your own generations. When you become parents, you're gonna wish and pray that your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren will always have that clean water. So water is very, very important in our life, because there are 4 sacred elements that keep us alive, and that's the water, the fire, the earth, and the air. And if one of those things die, if there is no more clean water, we would all get sick and die. And our animal friends, our fish, our families like that, they would all die. And even at some ceremonies, because the water is so sacred, when there's a death and when they're at a funeral, people will gather those Kleenex that people use to wipe their nose and their eyes, and they collect them and they put them in paper bags, and they go and they take them to the sacred fire, and all the tears, all the prayers go up to the sky. Because our tears are our prayers. They're sacred and they're meaningful why they come out. In our stories and our teachings, the grandmother moon is the one that takes care of the water. She regulates the water. She regulates the water in the women, in their cycle, in their moon time. And so we have this belief that we have this connection to the grandmother moon through our bellies when we have babies, and our babies are connected to that umbilical cord, and so is this invisible umbilical cord that we are connected to the grandmother moon through our lifeline, and so we learned that they used to tell us, don't stare at the moon. You don't stare at the moon. When we do our ceremonies, we do acknowledge grandmother moon, and in some of our water ceremonies, moon ceremonies, full moon ceremonies, we even do a howl like a wolf, because the wolf will always be beside the woman, and so does the wolf. Teaches to be humble, but a wolf will also teach us about family life. They raise their young, they're a family, and they protect their family in a good way. They provide for them. So they're very family oriented, and that's why the wolf will always walk with the women.
Nepowiskavska ke huesquea. Equa, Mikusumisatem and Pimpatat. Equa, Charlotte, Kihuni Dodem. My name is Charlotte. That's one of the spirit names I walk with. It's not the name my parents gave me when I was born. They gave me a different name because I was a different person then. I received that spirit name in 1972 at Vimy Ridge Park at 3 o'clock in the morning. Me and 3 of my friends were walking through the park. We had left the hotel. The other spirit names I carry is Red Horse Running, which I was given after my first fast in 1993 up in the Lake Cowichan Mountains. I walked with that name for many years. And in 2017, I was given my third name, which is Stand Strong Eagle Woman, and I walk with that name with pride and honor. I'm here to teach you how to make sisikwan, rattles. And rattles are part of us when we carry them. When we sit in the sweat lodge, we'll use the rattle when we're singing. When we're sitting in other ceremonies, they may ask us to use sisikwan to sing with. As you make these rattles, think of the animal that gave of itself so that you could have the hide to make the rattles. That deer that gave of its life so that the people could eat. And then the hide was used for making rattles or making clothing. The other thing that we do when we harvest our relatives, our four-legged relatives, is we make sure we use all parts of it. The hooves can be used to make rattles, or they can be used to make glue. The horns, some of us use the horns in the sweat lodge when we're pulling in the grandfathers to place them in the center of the lodge. As you make these rattles, remember to pray within yourself. That's what the grandmothers had told us. When you're making crafts, or when you're making beadwork, when you're making clothing, drums or rattles, you pray. You give thanks to that animal that offered itself. And you give thanks to those grandmothers that are sending this teaching to you. These rattles may be your first for some of you. One of the teachings that was given to me is that when we make the first of anything, we should gift it to somebody. And a lot of people, that's what they do. I remember the first rattle I made. It was a horse rattle, and it went to Sundance. The first drum that I made is hanging up in BC Hydro's building on the 13th floor. They have a boardroom there called the Longhouse, because that's where they meet with all the First Nation groups from BC. The first pair of moccasin that I made, I gifted away, and many other things. So it's up to you if you want to gift this rattle to somebody that you really care about, or if you want to keep it for yourself and use it in ceremony when you're in ceremony in the sweat lodge or singing with your friends.
My name is Tammy Wolf, and I'm a proud member of Nori House Cree Nation. One of the things that I love doing is I love beading. And so as a teacher, I kind of put my two loves together. I love beadwork and I love teaching. So I put them together, and now I teach beadwork. I think I mentioned earlier, I think Creator put me in your guys' path on purpose so that you guys could learn something from me. So I've been teaching beadwork for almost 10 years now. So I've been beading since I was about 8 years old, and I've really perfected my craft in the past 15 years. I know quite a lot of stitches. I've facilitated these workshops for all the way from 3 years old all the way up to elders. I usually start out slow, so I'm going to teach you guys something I want to say pretty simplistic, something that's going to kind of start you off. If you guys have never done beadwork, for those of you who have done beadwork, this might be a little bit basic, but basic is always easy, right? Or it's good because then you can make lots of them, right? So if you've done it before, so I have a couple designs here of what we're gonna teach, or what I'm gonna teach you guys, what you guys are gonna learn. So the style that we're gonna do is a basic drop style. So there's lots of designs. If you guys wanna come and look, I'm gonna lay them out here. This is basic drop style. There's lots of different styles that you can do. You can do them at different lengths, long ones. Oh, yeah. You can do really, really short, small ones. It's all up to you. And so that's what I always say about when I'm teaching beadwork, is it's really about decision making. So you're always making decisions. You're counting out your beads and you're making decisions. You're designing. You're a designer of what you want to create. This is where you're going to find out about yourself. This is where you're going to learn about who you are as an Indigenous person, but also learning what your strengths are, what your skills are. Patience, that's exactly what beadwork is going to teach you. It's very repetitive. You're doing the same thing over and over again. It's going to test you. That's what beadwork does, is it tests you. and you keep doing the same thing over and over again to get better at it. So the first rule is patience, and the second rule is don't tangle your bead thread. That's it. Those are my 2 rules. And the reason why rule number 2 is don't tangle your bead thread is because if you tangle your bead thread, you're going to have to revert back to rule number 1, which is patience.